Back with another video, a really quick one this time. As you all know, unless you don't use the internet and live under a stone corroborated cement rock, it's a Game of Thrones season 8 series finale, and it's probably going to be really bad, but there's a chance it might be fantastic. You have an hour and 20 minutes to get it right. I heard it got boosted 95 minutes, and I just have five predictions that I think should happen if they do intend on getting it right. Now, of course, my personal preference isn't they have to do this to get it right. It's just my opinions, but I think these things will help the episode go down smoother. Okay, so I'm just trying to start from small scope to big scope. Small scope, I believe, just five predictions. I believe we will see Cal Drogo and Ghost one more time. If you follow the actors and their various social medias, you'll see that Amelia Clark has taken a lot of pictures recently with Jason. I forgot his last name, but the guy who plays Cal Drogo in Aquaman and that ridiculous DC film Aquaman. Um, and I think that you just don't like. She's had a whole series to take these pictures with this guy, and I don't think even this buddy since like season two when he died, season one. I think he'll take. I think he'll have a. I think she'll be like just reeling off and going mad from the last episode, and then Cal Drogo will show up to her in a flashback or something like that in original material, but a flashback, kind of similar to his flashback he gave to her when she was seeing her visions all the way back when. And I think that's what will happen. I think we'll see Ghost one more time. Um, I just think the ending they gave Ghost was kind of terrible, and I just can't see that being his last moment. Um, I think we'll see it in relation to John. I don't think we'll just see Ghost. I think it'll be in relation to John, and maybe something happens to John that were one of his last things he sees in this whole series ends up being Ghost. I'm not gonna say that he dies, but who knows. Um, so that's smaller scope. Second prediction, I think there'll be no Night King or White Walker involvement. I'd love for it to happen, but I think we're pretty much all the way removed from the magic part of this series, except for one aspect that I'll name later. But for the time being, I don't think there's going to be any White Walkers, any chance that like Bran turns into the Night King or Arya turns into the Night King. Popular theories after episode 3 because no one let go of the thought that hey, this is the worst ending for a villain ever. Maybe the villain be allowed to come back and get a real ending. I don't think that'll happen. Moving on, third prediction. I think Bran will play a huge part. And obviously, the obvious way that he could play a huge part is warging to the dragon. I don't know because if Bran could warg into the dragon, then I think people would ask themselves, why didn't he just do that from the jump? And yeah, I think Bran would have a better sight of when to do something like that because he can see the future a little bit. But at the same time, I mean, if you just warg into the dragon right after they euthanize King's Landing, but before they just burn everybody else in King's Landing that's innocent, then that'd be the optimal way for him to do what he had to do. Um, the only way I could see him, because I feel like he tries to keep himself out of the whole politics of the Game of Thrones, the series, the Westeros, all of that. The only way I could see it to where he'd want to get involved is if it threatens his own life and there's no other person that can protect him because there isn't. If they go back to Winterfell, I mean, who else is going to stop them from just stop Daenerys from just burning down Sansa and everybody else there? And well, that's another prediction down the road. But it's very likely that the dragon shouldn't be like in any way able to be stopped. There's no scorpions left. There's no second dragon for Jon to get on. There's no like. I mean, that's it. There's only one dragon that's under Daenerys' control. So Bran is probably the only person that could stop that dragon. And I think that there's a chance he could. If not that, maybe he'll work into Daenerys and get her to not give the Dracarys, burn fire call. That's a possibility too. So next prediction, which ties into the last prediction, I think that Danny threatening to burn down Winterfell will be what wakes up Jon. I think this whole episode, last episode, episode 5, was about Jon finally seeing the real Daenerys, or at least the real Daenerys as the series has written her to be. I'm not a fan of how they did it either, but it's the reality that we're faced with, and I think seeing what he saw definitely. This isn't Aunt Danny anymore. This is the Mad Queen, and I think that'll be highlighted by because she's definitely still pissed with Winterfell. She has pretty much had been ridiculed in her own mind by the people up north liking Jon and Sansa and all of that, and they've actually have written that pretty well. So I think that was all written not just to show her going mad slowly, but to also show that they're going to be her next target. And she still has a dragon. She's going to have the complete love and adoration of the Unsullied and probably some of Jon's soldiers that he brought because as we saw, all of his soldiers just like basically mutinied his lead. They basically became the Unsullied for all intents and purposes. So she has all that behind her. So I think she'll just not march up to Winterfell. I think she'll just go up to Winterfell, Dolo. They don't have any soldiers there pretty much, and she'll just burn it down. And that threat of doing so, I think she'll give Jon an ultimatum. And I don't know how Jon avoids just dying at that moment because I mean I'm sure if he said no, she'll just burn him. And he's not immune to fire, unlike people's. Like there's a scene earlier when the first White Walker in the Night's Watch was there. Jon got burned by a lantern that he threw at the White Walker. He's not immune to fire. So if she said Dracarys on Jon, that'd be it. So I don't know how he avoids dying at that moment, but I do think that he'll try to convince her. She'll say, "Get out my face, you midget," and she'll try to go up there. He'll stop her somehow, I guess. Maybe not permanently, but he'll at least try. Jon, he's a trier. He's not a doer. He's a trier. So moving on to my fifth prediction. This might be the best one I feel like because it's probably very likely. I think Tyrion will try to kill Daenerys, and he will fail because he's a midget, and then a little person, and then Arya will sneak up and get the kill. Now this attacks two fronts and two realistic predictions. The first one is Tyrion got the knife from Sansa for a reason, the dagger, I think. That dagger was it wasn't the same one Arya used. It was a dragon glass one, right? So it's a dragon glass one that Arya gave to Sansa during episode 3, and Sansa gave that to Tyrion during episode 3. So it's a possibility. A possibility. You got dragon glass. You got the mother of dragons. Tyrion definitely is in the same boat as Jon and Arya that he's just completely shocked that Daenerys did what Daenerys did. I think he'll try to get her. I don't know how. I think he'll try to suppress his shockness. Shockness isn't a word. He'll try to repress his just being disgusted for a little bit. Try to get close to her as he can. Try to sneak her in and shot her. Just give her the shiv real quick. I think he'll fail. And I think Arya will just pop up behind him and get the kill. Now, I know that sounds horrible. Arya Stark getting another kill. She already got the biggest kill in the entire series. But the prediction, they seem pretty beholden to that prediction. Now, it's supposed to be for Jon, but I just don't, I mean, like, Arya is the hero now. They already revealed their card in episode 3 in the after credits. The post scene, they revealed their hand that Arya is the main character essentially at this point. And I think it's the black eyes, the blue eyes, and the green eyes. I thought after they said green eyes that there's a strong chance it wasn't going to be Cersei because it just wouldn't like they couldn't give her Cersei and the Night King. But I think Daenerys is realistic because when you think about who's in like let's say this doesn't go to Winterfell. Let's say this stays in King's Landing, which is possible. I don't know what they do in King's Landing for a whole episode, a whole hour and 20 minutes, but I mean, let's say like an hour because 20 minutes is gonna be like an epilogue. That's my sixth prediction, I guess. But I think the ending to this episode is gonna be an epilogue that closes everybody's um, plot holes in as convenient a way as possible. It won't be entertaining, but they got to cover their ass, I guess. I think you have Tyrion, you have Jon, and you have Arya that's in King's Landing right now. That are the only entities I think liable to try to kill Daenerys. I don't think Sir Davos will like risk his own ass for that. I think the Mountain is dead. The Hound is definitely dead. I think the Mountain is dead too, though. I think Cersei and Jamie. I just can't see any way they'd bring them back. Like it would plummet this episode's opinion immediately if they survived rocks being thrown on their head, which I think they're dead anyway. But let's just say like I know they gave a little inkling that they didn't die. We didn't see them get crushed, so maybe they're not dead. They can't come back. It can't be. And since there won't be any Night King thing, and since there's only one dragon, I think if this stays in King's Landing, the only thing that could possibly happen is Arya sneaks Daenerys. But I don't know how that happens because she does have an army and all that. But I don't know how Arya snuck through 10 trillion White Walkers, and they made that happen. And it was horrible, but they made it happen. So that's my 5.5 predictions. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I enjoyed this episode. I don't know if I will. I feel like I won't. But let's go, man. Valor Morgulis.